Welcome to Friday Pilates mat. I have a fire going in my living room because it's chillier here now. I don't know, it looks like even Posey has on a sweatshirt and she's in a warmer part of California than I am. Okay, so shake it out. Let's begin with some dynamic warm-ups just because it is cooler weather now. Let's shake the arms out to the side, shake them up to the top. Remind those hypertonic muscles they can let go. And let's swing and lift, float and float, open and open. So even right here, as we bring our weight onto one hip and lift the opposite hip, that lifting, you're getting into those abductors. And you could spread your legs a little wider if you want a little more stretch in the adductors. Warming up through the buttocks and the legs. A swing to the arms. We could swing them a little higher if we want a little more energy. And then let's come down and let's swing lower with the knees, if that's okay for your knees. Getting the quads warmed up. And we lift and lower and lift and lower. Woo! I'm warming up. I don't need a fire if we're going to move this much. Okay. And then come back towards center. And let your arms come into their figure eights while I bring in Izzy the puppy. Come on in. Figure eights. Now notice if you're leaning forward towards your arms, try leaning back slightly. And then try looking to the sides as the arms go to the sides. Notice how it shifts in the body. Now, walk the feet a little more towards midline. Keep the feet still for a moment. Notice how the knees and hips still slightly move. And see if you can lift to the toe of the foot you're swinging slightly away from. Lift to the toe. And then perhaps lift the foot all together. Lift and lift, lift and lift. The arms can swing upward. And they can swoosh back down. And they can swoosh back up. And they can swoosh back down. And step your legs wide. And turn your feet out. And bend the knees. Follow the legs out. Now, hold on to the femurs above the knees and just stretch the femurs out of the hip sockets a little. Feel that one? Yeah, good. So we open up the adductors. Now bring your arms up into your cactus. And exhale, pinkies together. And inhale, lift the heart, stretch the spine, stretch from elbow to elbow. Exhale, cat curl the spine. Inhale, lift the heart. And keep the feet wide open. So notice if they're bunched up, spread the feet like big bear paws on the ground. Exhaling and inhaling and exhaling and inhaling. Now pause, lift the hands, stretch skyward. Lower the elbows, spread them wide. Lift the hands, lift the heels. And lower and lift and lower and lift. Feel how that lift can even stretch and work the adductors a little bit. Lift and lower, lift and lower, pause. Set your head back. Root your tail and lift the base of the back of the skull. And exhale. Left shoulder blade towards right buttock. Keep your knees still. Come back to center. Right shoulder blade towards left buttock. Towards center. And swing. And center. So you can begin to move maybe with a little faster pace. Just make sure you don't go beyond what's healthy for your spine. With osteoporosis, we don't want heavy bone-on-bone compression. So your twist will be a little less. Come back to center. Straighten the legs. Lift the heels and lower. Lift and lower. They may not lift much. Lift and lower. Bend your knees again. Pause and take a deep breath into the whole circle of the lowest ribs. As you exhale, lengthen up through the top of the head. Take an inhale, lengthen even more, and exhale, side bend the left elbow towards the left femur. Come to center. Now control how far you bend based on what's okay in your spine. And we bend. Notice that the femur bone you're bending towards, you may get a little more of a stretch in that adductor. Do you feel that? Fluid breath. So we come into asymmetry, and that's going to stretch the fascia in different ways. One more. And come back to center. And straighten the legs and step them in. And let's pick up your hand weights and begin to march. Marching with the heart lifted. Let the arms gently swing and gently march forward and back. Back and forward. Fluid breath. Now, notice when you lift the knee to lift the foot, if you also hitch the femur bone up into the hip, try to lift the knee and let the hip come down. Think of that idea. Oh, I'm going to lift the knee, but release the head of the femur. Is that possible? Fluid breath, fluid movement, letting the head rest back. Now, come back to your center and release. Let's pretend like the left hand has a string connecting your hand weight to your knee, and lift the knee and tap. 2, 3, 4, lift and open and close and open and close. You're strengthening the outer hip of the standing leg. You're strengthening the outer hip when you open of the moving leg. You're stretching the adductor a little bit when you take it out and using it when you draw in. Release. Lift to the next knee. Now hug in the banks of your river. Find that long spine and tap. 2, 3, 4, and lift and open and close and inhale and exhale. Keep that long spine open and close and open and close and release. Lift to the left toe. And we're going to draw circles. 1, 2, and 3. Take them the other way. 1, 2, and 3. Release. Lift to the right or the next toe. Lift. Draw your circle. 2, 3, and pause. Draw it back. 1, 2, and 3, and step down. Take your left toes out and snow angel up and release and inhale and exhale. Strengthening both outer hips, one in standing, one in movement. And one more. Lift and lower. Take the other toe out and we inhale and exhale and lift and lower. Breathe space into the spine as you work. One more and release. Roll your shoulders. Pause in your mountain pose for a moment. Palate over heart over pelvis. Come back to a three-dimensional breath. Really try to invite the breath into the back body. Okay, let's come to standing on a block next to a wall or a piece of furniture. You could stand on your oov. Actually, I'm going to use my oov. You can stand on your oov or your block. And let's have it be the outside leg that you're floating, okay? So if you're on your oov, you put your second toe and heel in the groove of the oov. If you're on a block, you just make sure your block is centered. and then let your foot gently swing. Swing. Now stand strong on that standing leg. Try not to lean too hard into the wall. In fact, if you can take the hand off once in a while, or just hold on with a finger, try your hand in different positions. Yeah, that's a good one, Sherry. Okay. Now here, lift the knee and release. Lift and release. As you release, release that inner thigh. Release that outer hip. And pause. Now float the foot out to the side and hold. Stand strong down into the standing leg. Grow the spine a little taller and release the foot in. And lift and lower and lift and lower. Lift and lower and lift and lower. Lift the knee and release. Lift and release. Lift and release. Lift. Kick forward. Release the foot, heel to buttock, and bicycle. Stay long and strong in the spine. We are really working the hips here. And enough. Step down. Okay, we'll switch to the other side. See how good Tracy's balance is. Step up onto your block or your oeuvre. So the beauty of an oeuvre, those of you who have never tried one, is that you have to work with balance while you're on it. And we kick the foot forward and back. And we just let the leg release. And then we lift the knee and release. Lift and release. Really try to release that inner thigh. Release that inner thigh. Hi, George. Welcome. Welcome, Kathy. Fluid breath. Strong along the spine. And then pause. Stand tall and strong and take the foot out. And pause. I didn't pause because I was losing my balance. Pause. Hold. Lengthen that standing leg right up through the lumbar spine, all the way up to the neck. And bring the foot in. And take it out. And in. And out. And in. Feel the strength in your standing leg and your working leg. Out and in. Out and in. Now lift the knee and release. And lift and release. Lift and release. Lift and bicycle. Bicycle. Fluid breath. Need my wall. Where's my wall? There we go. Fluid breath. And step down. Come onto your mat with your feet spread from big toe to pinky toe. Lift your heel, stretch it back. Lift your heel, stretch it back. Pause on those wide open feet. Fluid breath. Pat your buttocks. Hug in the banks of the river. From the outer hip, root into the outer heel. From the outer heel, create an arch to the pinky toe ball mount. Spread and lift your transverse arch from pinky toe to big toe. Feel your inner arch. Ground the four corners of your feet. And bend your knees forward over your second metatarsals. Lift your arms, Utkatasana. Pause with the tailbone towards earth. Try to lengthen the spine. Release the shoulders from around the neck. And inhale. Stretch up. Lift onto the balls of your feet. Wide across your transverse arch. Spread your feet back, heels back as you come down again. Utkatasana. Strengthening the quads, warming up the body. Keep the banks of your river active. Lift up to your transverse arch. And release. And roll one shoulder up, down, and back, and the other. Invite the myofascia of the body to open. Take the elbows back in your circles. Stretch from elbow to opposite toe. Point that toe. Really try to get the whole myofascial chain stretching. Maybe you swing the arm open and you backstroke. Fluid breath. Now, when you swing your left arm next, pause at the top. Come to the toe of the other leg and stretch from finger to toe. Stretch the myofascial chain. Now see, can you lower and lift, lower and lift, lower and lift, lower and lift, and release. Stretch the opposite direction. Really find the stretch. Feel it through your hip, down your inner thigh, and lift and release. Lift, release, lift and release, lift and release. Mountain pose, feet wide open. Lift the knee and circle. 2, 3. Pause on the lift and open. Now imagine you have a string at the ankle instead. Flick the ankle open and close. Open the knee and close. Straighten and close. Straighten and down. Mountain pose, feet wide open. Lift the other knee. Ground into the heel of your standing foot. Feel the strength of that buttock, that bank of the river, and lift and circle. 2 and 3. Lift and open. Now the strings at your ankle. Lift and close. Lift and close. Stand tall. Lift and close. Lift and step down. Heels together. Bend the knees. Palate over heart over pelvis. Lift the heels. Zip up the inner thighs. Magnetize the adductors together. Activate the outer hip as a container. Lift through the pelvic floor and grow an inch. Lower your heels. Lift up onto the transverse arch. This is all hugging in and up. You're hugging the adductors together. Lifting through the pelvic floor. Lift your arms. Exhale, lower the heels, bend the knees. Can you keep the container of the outer hip and leg? And inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, release the heels. Bend the knees, keep the container, lift the heels, lift up and lengthen. Keep that hugging in of the outer hip, that hugging together of the inner thigh, and land the heels. Stay long and strong. Stand strong on your right leg. Lift the left knee. Lift the left ankle and hold. Now just touch the toe down. 2, 3, 4, and lift. Down. 2, 3, 4, and lift. And release. Take the next toe out. It's really strong up the banks of this river. And we lift and hold and tap. 2, 3, and lift and hold. Lift the heart. Lift through the crown chakra and release. Okay, let's lift up our hand weights again. Come into your skier's kind of stance here, your Utkatasana. Okay, and we open. Now here, I want you to really spread from big toe to pinky toe in your transverse arch. And I want you to spread knee to knee and sink the hips. So this should be a little stretch for your adductors, a little work in the buttocks and hips. Come together and open. Together and open. Other way and open. Together and open. And you decide when to switch directions based on your space. We open and close. Open and close. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Come back to your center mat, legs open, and press your arms up. Knees are still bent. Hug in the banks of your river. Even hug the adductors a little in towards each other to help you stabilize the pelvis. Reach and release. Reach and release. Hold your cactus pose. Take your left shoulder slightly around towards right buttock. Come back. Right shoulder towards left. Come back. Keep your knees open. Keep a gentle hug at the banks of your river. Exhale the twist. Inhale the center. And reach the arms up and hold. lift to the balls of the feet, and lower the heels, and lift, and lower, lift, and lower. See if you can sink the hips a little more to stretch the adductors. Lift and lower, lift and lower. Open the elbows and straighten the legs, and turn the feet in and come together. Pause, tuning into your breath, tuning into your legs. Okay. Let's bend the knees and hinge ourselves forward and reach down like you're going to pick up some shopping bags. Lift your elbows broad across your collarbones, straighten the arms. Bend the elbows, lower the shopping bags, lift and straighten, bend and lower, lift and straighten, bend and lower, lift, straighten and hold. Now come to the toe of one foot, okay? So you're balancing with strength on the other leg. Hug both the outer hip and the adductor in. Lift through the pelvic floor. Hug from hip to balance the hips. And can you lift the toe off and tap? 2, 3, and 4. Step down. Lift to the other toe and tap. 2, 3, 4, and step down. Feel the 4 corners of your feet, the 3 arches. Lift to a toe and tap. 2, 3, 4. Step down. Check in broad across your shoulder girdle. Shoulder blades strong on the back. Lift to your toe and tap. 2, 3, 4. Step down and release your arms and unhinge and roll your shoulders. Open your arms to a T. Lift to one toe. Lift the knee. Now today we're going to lift the knee and take it through to the back, hinging forward. Using the glute, losing your standing leg stability. Come forward and float back. Come forward and float back. And come forward, step down, release your arms, and roll your shoulders. Again, come to your toe. Heart lifts. Hug in the banks of your river, lift through your pelvic floor. Even feel your adductor of the standing leg hugging bone. Now lift the knee. Hug hip to hip, create banks to your river. Open your arms to a T. Lift up into the armpit. Use the banks of the river in your side bodies as well. Take the foot back and come forward. And take the foot back and come forward. One more time. Take the foot back and come forward. Step down, release your arms, and roll your shoulders. Pause in your mountain pose. Fluid breath. Okay, bring in your block or your oov. Place it under your left foot. Tail forward if you're on an oov. And come to standing. So your toe of your floating foot is touching the floor. Open your palms forward and bicep curl and release. Bicep curl and release. Now you can bicep curl and lift your knee. Touch your toe down and lift and lower, lift and lower. Gotta recenter my foot. Lift and lower. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Can you keep the foot floating and not touch the floor? One more. And step down. Step to the other foot on your block or your oov. Feel palate over heart over pelvis as you step up. Hug in the banks of your river and bicep curl. Release. Lift the knee. Release. Lift and lower. Inhale and exhale. See if you can do this floating the foot. One more. And release and step down. Okay. Move your oov out of your way. Float your arms out to the side. Palms down. Root into your wide open feet and lift to a toe. And lift your knee. And lengthen the leg. And step down. Lift to your toe. Lift your knee. lengthen the leg, and step down. Now turn out into a Pilates V. Right here, hug in your adductors, hug in your outer hips, lengthen the spine, lift the knee, lengthen the leg, and step down. Lift to the toe, lift the knee, lengthen the leg, and step down. Release your arms and roll your shoulders. Okay, let's come to the floor. Make sure you have your foam roller with you. And we will begin with lying on it on our backs. So Posey, you could do this on the ooh if you'd like. I'm going to do it on the foam roller because that's what people mostly have. Lie on your foam roller and gently roll yourself back and forth. Cross your roller. If you're on your ooh, just settle shoulder blades around the head. Okay, you're coming on the roller too. Okay, good. Roll just gently back and forth. So part of elongating the spine is releasing the tension to either side of it. If the blanket rolls too much, remember you can put a blanket over it to soften it, or you could use a rolled up firm blanket or blanket and mat. Roll. Try to release the tension in the thoracic spine, especially between the shoulder blades. Now pause the rolling and nod your head yes. Find length to your cervical curve, and if your chin's really jutting skyward, you can put a pillow on your roller. Now, if your arms feel too low here, you can roll off and get blocks to put under your hands. Otherwise, turn your hands over and come onto spider fingers. And float your right leg up into tabletop. And float your left leg up to join. And hug the legs together. Magnetize the adductors all the way to the knees, down into the calves. Feel the outer banks of your river, hug in, create a container. And now open the left leg out to the left and draw back in. Open the right leg out to the right, as well as pulling in with the adductor, which is our habit. Push with your glutes. Push with the outer hip. Push it back in. Don't just rely on the adductor as you open one page and then the other. Open one page, close it, open the other, close it. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Lift your legs straight up towards the sky. Open into your Pilates V. Zip the legs together and circle the feet apart, heels together. The circles don't have to be huge. We circle and draw in and circle, draw in. Can you draw in from the adductor? Can you press in from the outer hip and outer leg? Take your circles the other way. Keep your neck long and your shoulders broad. And bend the knee and float one foot to the floor and then the other. Relax on your roller and again, roll side to side, side to side. Exhale, one leg back into tabletop. Inhale, lengthen your spine on your roller. Exhale, float the other leg up. Now open both legs wide and just rest them open. Let the knees rest open and the adductors stretch. Relax the feet. Now flex the feet. Point the feet. Flex the feet. Point the feet. Does this have any impact on the inner line or the outer line of your leg? Now on an exhale, draw the pelvic floor in. Draw the knees towards midline. Circle the knees towards your chest and away from each other. Circle together and apart. We've warmed up the adductors. Now we're stretching them. Take the knees down the center line, open wide, and draw the knees back up. Good morning, hips. Now come to center. Place one foot on the floor. and open the other page of the book and draw back in and open and in. Notice how your body counterbalances. Engage your myofascial slings and lower the foot. Float the next foot up, hugging the banks of your river. Remember, they're there to support you. Take the leg out, hug in. Feel the connection from the leg that moving shoulder across to the opposite buttock. And one more. And come back in. And roll off your foam roller. Roll it out from under you and lay flat on the floor for a moment. Feel, hopefully your spine feels wide open, like your back print just got wider. And then rock from side to side in your somatic walking. Lift the right hip and then release it. Lift the left hip and release it. Feet firm on the floor, spine long. Nod yes with your head. Bring in a pillow if you need one. Fluid breath. Come to relaxing on the floor, shoulders broad. Breathe deep down towards the pelvis. Okay, you can either bring your foam roller, your oov, or 2 blocks in under your feet. Blocks would be most stable. I think probably oov and foam roller, foam roller is probably least stable, honestly. Bring your arms parallel to each other. Foam roller under your feet, or blocks or oov. Lift your pelvis into a bridge. No pillow under your head. Now hug in from the outer glutes towards the midline. Hug in from the outer hip and pulse your pubic bone up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pulse up and hold. Activate the glutes to help hold the pelvis up. And then relax the glutes and lower the sacrum towards the floor. And inhale and lift. And exhale and lower. Try not to splay the knees too far out as you lift the pelvis. That may happen naturally because you have tight outer hips, but this will help us both stretch and strengthen. If you can start thinking about aligning feet and knees with the pelvis. And lift and exhale, roll down. And pause in your neutral curve. If you're on the foam roller, you can roll it under your feet for a moment, waking up the plantar fascia. Now roll it back in towards you. Use your upper body and arms, pressing and grounding to lift the pelvis again. And lift the right hip higher than the left. Really try to lift it with that side musculature. And then switch, lift left. And switch, and switch, and switch, and switch. Sway and breathe and flow and move. And come back to center and pulse. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hold the pose. Lengthen the tailbone. And then relax so that you can roll each vertebrae to the floor. Relax into this constructive rest and float one shin parallel to the floor and the next. Bring your hands to the front of your femur bones. Press the hands in and pull the femurs towards your chest. Press and pull. Press and pull. Remember, we're not at 100% effort. We're at an effort we think we can sustain with our low ribs reaching for our hip pointers and our neutral lumbar curve. Fluid breath. And hug the knees in. Now, roll the foam roller in towards your buttocks. And everybody, if you have a foam roller, bring it in under your sacrum. Okay. Now move a little towards the tailbone with your roller and roll your knees out to the left and then roll back to center, roll the knees out to the right and just feel the pressure on the outside of your sacrum through these butt muscles to either side that connect your greater trochanter to your sacrum. Just roll across. You can always come back to that, or hands on either side of your foam roller so it's well centered. Float one leg to tabletop and the other leg to join it. Come a little more centered on your sacrum, and take your left knee open to the left, and then let the right knee follow, coming into a twist. Now lift the right knee back to center and lift the left knee back to center. Take the right leg over to the right, let the left leg follow. Open the left leg, let the right leg follow. Open the left leg, let the right leg follow. Open the right leg, left leg follows. Open right, left follows. Lift left, right follows. Now lift your legs straight up towards the sky, flex your feet, and lower one foot towards the floor. Point the toe and lift. Lower the next heel, point the toe and lift. Stay broad across your shoulder girdle as you flex and lower, point and lift. 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 Inhale one direction, exhale the other. Heels touch, zip up the inner thighs, activate the outer thighs, feel the hamstrings and the quads. Draw the feet towards the head, take them wide, down towards the foot of the mat and together, and circle. Try to use the musculature all around the pelvis and femur bone to control the circles. Take them slow. Feel what's working. Come up the midline, take the heels down and circle. And circle. And one more. And come up and together. Bend the knees. Float one foot to the floor and then the other. Roll the roller out from under your sacrum towards your feet. Roll up and bring in your blocks behind you. I lost a block. Okay, so let's roll out the hamstrings before we come to the IT band, because the outer hamstring and the IT band can get adhered together. So we come up to sitting on our roller and draw the blocks in, and we roll. So this is core work because your hands are on your blocks. That's right, Sherry. And you roll back with your pelvis and then forward towards your feet over your hamstrings. And just do this with your toes pointing towards the sky at first. And then as you're ready to get the outer hamstring, roll into a turnout. Pinky toes towards the floor, big toes towards the sky. Rolling a little more of that outer hamstring. And you may have to come down and pull your roller in again and get back up. Now, see if you can roll your big toes towards each other, heels wide. Try to roll that inner line of the inner hamstring and the adductors, which can also get adhered to one another. When we roll the muscles like this, we're also moving the lymphs. This is so healthy. Come back to neutral. Roll the middle of the hamstrings. Maybe you roll down towards the knee joints. Okay. Now, release your blocks out of the way and come to sitting on the roller. Actually, you may still want your blocks, sorry. You're going to have to see. Some of you may want them, some may not. Okay, so you're sitting on the roller with your tailbone right over the top of the roller. Take your feet wide, take your arms wide, and then roll your knees towards the left. Let the right hand come off and up and roll over that musculature, and then roll back. Find your block or your hand on the floor, roll the other way. And just let yourself roll over the tissue. So your sit bone should be just over the roller. Getting my props mixed up. Now roll back to center and bring your left ankle over your right femur. Now you can have the legs crossed like this if your hips are tight, or more open with the knee into your figure four. Now roll towards the knee, and then the lifted knee, and then roll towards the opposite side. So you're kind of doing a twisting action with your spine, getting deep into those outer hip muscles when you roll either way. You can roll more away from your tailbone, up the bones of your pelvis if that's comfortable in your body. And then roll over towards the right leg and just roll the roller under your buttocks back and forth a little bit. Yeah, getting into that buttock, right up to the edge of the sit bone, over towards the greater trochanter, up the ilium. Feel into where it's tight for you. And come back to center and release the left foot to the floor. Bring the right ankle up. Okay, so first, let's just roll first here so you feel sit bone, up into the ilium a little bit. So you know that kind of distance you've got. You can come to any place in there, but I would roll towards your sit bones to begin with, and then rock side to side across that tissue, side to side. Really trying to rest deeply onto the tissue. You may come up towards the higher up on the pelvis or lower, and then rock towards the knee for a moment and roll, and then rock away from the lifted knee so that the lifted leg foot comes towards the floor and roll. And then come back to center and release. Okay, we are now going to lay our body over the roller so that we're just a little lower than the hip. Step your top foot over like you're coming into a side plank. You may want blocks under your arm. And you may want like a few blocks so that you can create a platform. It's totally up to you. And then roll onto that hip. And then you'll feel the bump of the greater trochanter roll down the leg. Now we're rolling out the IT band. If you roll to the back, if you lift your belly a little and roll to the back side of the thigh, you're rolling the outer edge of the IT band and the hamstring. You may feel like, oh, things are stuck in there. Oftentimes it's the muscle adhering to the fascial band. You can roll forward towards the front quad and roll out the connections, the fascial connections. You can take the roller farther down towards the knee. Don't roll over the side of the knee though. Rolling this outer leg, you may want to roll onto your front quad a little bit. And And then let's come down, come off the roller so that we can lay on our bellies. Again, if you like the blocks, you can put them under your forearms. You could also put your forearms on the floor. Lay on the roller and hug the roller towards you and release it away and roll out the quads. Feel how you're maybe moving over some tightness of the saran wrap around the muscles. So there's more and more research coming out about fascia and how sometimes it's not muscle tightness, it's the fascia around the muscle that's tight. And when you roll it, you can release that tension. You can release adhesions. Now, you can bring your feet into turnout to get more at the connection between the adductors and the quads because we can have adhesions there. And roll back to the top of the quads. Maybe slow the roll down. Really feel where your tension may be. Hopefully, Sherry, this is really good for your legs after that hard hike. It may be tender, but it might also be good for getting blood and lymph flow. Okay, and then we're going to switch to the other side. So bring your blocks into whatever position you'd like if you want to use them. And lie on your side, hip on the roller, step the upper leg over, foot perpendicular, and begin to roll. Now you can roll the buttock here. You can roll the hip. Releasing tightness, soreness. And then as you're ready, roll over that bump of the greater trochanter and roll up and down your IT band. Now, I have you with your foot, the top foot over and your arms on blocks so you can take some of the pressure off. Some people don't recommend rolling directly on the IT band. So you can decide how much pressure you want to put there. You can lighten the pressure by pressing down into your feet and arms and doing more of a side plank. Okay, you decide. Pain isn't gain. Feel into your body for, okay, what is the good pain, I guess. You may want to roll towards the quad and roll out the fascial connections there. Fluid breath. Any adhesions you might find. And you may want to roll back towards the hamstrings and look for adhesions there. If the IT band feels like too much for you, you can come right up onto your blocks and just roll out your hamstrings again. Coming back up and rolling. If your blocks were on medium, you could bring them to low. Good. Okay. Now, let's release the foam roller and come to lying down on your side. Bring in a pillow if you need one. So we're coming into clamshell position. Okay. Your arms straight out from the body. Your Izzy in the way of the view of the camera. Lift your feet. And you gotta move. Sorry. Come here. Yeah, get your chicken. And open your clamshell and close. And open and close and open and close. Feet are lifted. And open and hold open. And then pulse open. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And hold. Now gently hug in the banks of your river. Lift through your pelvic floor, lengthen your spine. Hug in the banks of your river. Lift through the pelvic floor, lengthen the spine, and close the knees. And release the feet. Release the feet and lengthen the legs. So remember, you want the legs, femur bones aligned like they're in your clamshell position. And float the top leg up and float it down. And float it up and float it down. Float it up and point your toe and draw a soccer ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now kick the foot forward, flex and draw the heel back as if you were standing at the foot of your mat. Point and kick, flex and draw back. Try not to have the pelvis swing. One hip stays over the other. Good. Now come back in. Point your toe and take as much turnout as you can up the thigh and draw your toe up the thigh, lift, flex, and lower. Draw a line up, lift, flex, and lower. One more. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. Now point the toe and lift the foot and bend the knee and draw the line out and lift, bend and draw, lift, bend and draw. One more, lift, bend and draw. You can stay with those, or you can draw a little larger circle with your foot. Feel into the work the outer hip has to do as you draw your circle, and take your circle the other way. So it doesn't have to be huge, but it can be as large as feels comfortable for you. And one more. And come down and bend your knees and pat that outer hip. Good job, hip muscles. And let's try the other side. Okay, so we stretched ourselves out, moved some of the fascia, and now we're coming back into a little more hip work. Hopefully that keeps the tissue a little bit more open. My dog is really wanting. Okay, over there. Sit. Bring your feet up and open your knees and close your knees and open and close. Now notice if you just let your buttocks kind of just be there, or if you can gently activate the container and know, oh, there are my hips. There's the hip on the floor. There's the other hip working. Feel into your torso. Can you stabilize across your shoulder girdle and across your pelvis? So the bones aren't flopping around, they're still. And then close the knees and open the legs and lift the foot and lower. Lift the heel and the pinky toe. You're not in turnout. If you're in turnout, we get into different muscles of the hips. So try to leave the heel and the toe even. We'll do the turnout work later. And one more here. And then point the toe and draw your circles, your soccer balls. 3, 4, and 5. Take it the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now kick your foot forward, flex, and draw the heel down. And forward, and draw, and forward, and draw. Keep a long lumbar spine. So don't let yourself hinge yet. Now kick forward and bicycle. Ride your bicycle. Fluid breath, fluid movement, stable lumbar spine, stable shoulder girdle, and come foot over foot. Now turn the femur bone out as much as you can and draw your line up your leg, lift, flex, and lower. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. Now point your toe, lift, bend the knee and draw out, lift, bend and draw, lift, bend and draw. Now you can stay with any of those or draw a larger circle. 1, 2, and 3, and switch directions. 1, 2, and 3. Lower the leg, Bend your knees in and pat that outer hip. Okay, so really good hip strengthening work there. Now just lying here, put your hand on your hip and stretch the hip a little down the mat. Release your rib cage back towards the mat. So stretch, it may arch your rib off, and then release the ribs back. Okay, now come back up to your constructive rest and somatic walking. Relaxing your shoulders, relaxing your head. Bring your right ankle over the left knee. Let the right knee open up and bring your legs in towards your chest. You could put a block under the left foot, or you could put a yoga strap around your femur bone, or you can wrap your hands around femur or shin. Rock side to side. Now you just worked these muscles. Now you're going to feel the stretch of those same muscles. We rolled this tissue. We invited fluid to move. We worked this tissue. Now we're relaxing into a stretch. Really invite the breath deep into the tissue. Invite it to open. Fluid breath. And exhale, release this keyhole. Come back to your somatic walking. Invite the pelvis to become heavy on the ground. Settle into neutral and lift the left ankle over the right femur. Open the left knee. You can stay here, put your foot on a block, or draw your legs in. Keep the left foot flexed to protect the knee. Now gently rock back and forth. Find your optimal stretch to rest into. And then bring deep breath into the low belly and into the hip. Relax the body on the exhales. Now notice if your brow is furrowed or your face is tense. If it is, you've probably come too far into the stretch. Come to the place where you can relax your face, your jaw, your belly, your hip. Relaxing on the exhales. Inviting an open tissue. Now release your right foot, then your left. Come back to somatic walking. And float one knee in towards the chest and then the other. You can either bring your hands behind your knees, holding across your hamstrings, or bring your hands up to the outside of your feet. Happy baby pose. Let your knees open as wide as they will. Gently rocking, inviting the inner thighs to open. Some of you may want to take your pinky toes with your two peace fingers and straighten the legs, allowing for a Supta Upta Vista Konasana, a yoga pose to stretch the inner thighs. Fluid breath, just resting into the hug of gravity. You can very gently nod tailbone towards earth, tailbone towards sky if you have that flexibility. And you'll get different components of the muscle tissue. If you don't have that flexibility, you can stay in your happy baby. Maybe you bring your hands down to hold your shins and your ankles, and you gently rock tailbone towards earth, tailbone towards sky, to feel for a little change in the stretch. If you're in a straddle, bend your knees and float one foot to the floor and then the other. Bring your humerus bones alongside the body, broad across your shoulder girdle, and lift your hips. And lift the right hip higher than the left and sway across to the left and swing and breathe. Let this motion be as relaxing as you can, even though one side of the hip will be working. Invite the lining of the pelvis to relax, the connection between the inner thigh and the pelvis to relax, the connection between the inner thigh and the lumbar spine to relax. Come to neutral, lift your pubic bone, and exhale, roll down, one vertebrae at a time. Hug one knee into the chest and in the other, and circle the knees wide apart and back together again. Okay, since we did so much work with the hips, I'd like you to bring in a block and place it wide between your knees, shins parallel to the floor, and just hug into the block. That hugging into the block will take your femur bones wide into the ilium bones, which will spread the ilium bones a little bit away from the sacrum, allowing the sacral to settle back into its neutral position. So hug the block with your knees. And this is a pretty strong hug. It's not 100%, but maybe it's 60 or 70%. Fluid breath. I know right here we're strengthening the inner thighs, but we are trying to also open the pelvis. And then release pressure on the block, release the block, holding the knees together, circle around the sacrum, circling the knees together, massaging your SI joints. And then take your circles the other way. And then hug the knees in and roll yourself gently over and come up onto hands and knees. Take an inhaled cow and an exhaled cat. Take the exhaled cat sit bone towards your knees. Stretch the lumbar spine, breathe into it. And one more time, inhale your cow. Sit bones away from shoulders, away from ears, long neck. And one more time, hissing cat. Take your sit bones towards your heels. Breathe deep into the back body. Maybe sway your hips slightly side to side, inviting the fascia to release open. And then planting your hands, roll up to downward dog. Bend your knees in towards your armpits, press the hands into the floor and take the sit bones back. And then walk your dog. Roll over the transverse arch. And then walk your feet up the mat towards your hands. Bend your knees. Allow the torso to rest right on the femur bones. Those of you with the flexibility, lift your sit bones and fold into your Uttanasana. Feel the four corners of your feet. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. And then bend your knees and inhale, hands to your heart. Utkatasana. Release your arms and let them swing. And let them swing you up to Uttanasana, palms facing each other. Root your feet, root your tail, lift your heart. Stretch your side bodies. Feel your inner thighs rooting down to inner heel. Your outer hips rooting down to outer heel. Lift through the pelvic floor. Draw an energy stocking up your spine. And exhale, hands to the heart. Release your arms. fluid breath. Palate over heart over pelvis. And one more time. Let's bring our heels together and zip up the inner thighs. Wrap energy around the legs so that this outer hip, outer leg is activating towards the midline. And exhale, bend the knees. And lift the heels and zip it up. Feel that inner line zip. Feel the outer hips activate lower. Now lift. Bend, lower the heels, and zip it up. Feel that hug in, that lift up. And let's inhale. And draw in to our outer hip strength. Let's inhale. Draw in to our inner adductor lengthening. Let's inhale. And draw in to fascial release. And enjoyment of our weekends. Cozy enjoyment of your trip. And I hope you're more awake in your hips.